Alright, an introduction to operation maintenance of auxiliary power systems. An introduction to operation maintenance auxiliary power systems. J. Paul Geyer, PERA editor, Clubhouse Press, El Murcio, California. Contents: operating procedures, routine maintenance, generators, exciters, switchgear maintenance, and lubrication oil purification. One, let's go to 50%. All right, operating procedure requirements. Successful operation auxiliary power generator system has several requirements. First, the equipment in the system must be selected with the ease of the operation maintenance as prime consideration. Second, the equipment must be installed by component and personnel. 111. Adequate records must be kept during installation operational shakedown. If any of the future modifications could be implemented, minimal research for the operational personnel must be thoroughly trained in proper operating procedures. Training must include performance of the maintenance as well as operation. 4. The detailed record keeping system must be instituted. 112. Record keeping. The record keeping must include library of various equipment, the manufacturer's instruction, operating log sheet, routine maintenance instruction, maintenance log sheet, piping, and electrical diagrams. The record should be assembled within binders or folders stored in installation engineering office for availability of safekeeping. 1-2. Attended stations. 121. Attendant stations have one or more operators of duty around the clock within any portion of the day. If the plant is not used as full time, the plants have an operator on duty only for the portion of the day. Sometimes require operator presence during the entire period of the plant is supplying power to the system. Attendant stations can be operated manual mode, semi-automatic mode, automatic, or in automatic mode. If the plant is manned at all times, the manual semi-automatic mode is usually employed. In the manual mode, the operation is complete control of the power plant and would start the primary mover, bringing it to operating speed, applying excitation to the generator, closing the circuit breaker to pick up the station load where paralleling another generator. The operator must perform paralleling procedures described. If paralleling with electrical utility systems, desired approval must be obtained with the utility. The need for the special relaying, such as reverse power relays, must be determined. 122. In the using semi-automatic mode, sensing devices monitor the normal source of the power. Upon loss of the normal power source, the sensing devices are activated and initiate start signal to the primary mover. Alarm circuit is initiated at a time to alert the operator that the normal power has been lost. An emergency unit is started. The primary mover approaches the rated speed. Excitation is automatically applied with the generator. The power plant will remain with the condition rated speed and the voltage until the operator closes the circuit breaker connecting the emergency generator to the load. If the station has more than one generator, load requires more than one generator. Operator must initiate synchronizing circuitry using the techniques provided, but the operator must parallel the second generator with the first. If the additional generators require the most added with the system in the same manner, the operator can adjust to the governor's excitation controls to obtain the desired load division. Reactive power division between generators 1, 2, 3, so the automatic mode. It's similar to semi-automatic mode to the point that unit reaches the rate of speed, voltage, and voltage. When speed and voltage have been stabilized, unit picking up with a completely dead plant with the closing signal is initiated with the circuit breaker. Circuit breaker energized with the desired load. Load demands more than one unit. The second unit reaches the operating speed and voltage. Automatic synchronizing circuitry is enabled. The speed of the incoming unit will be adjusted automatically when the synchronizing relay is satisfied with that the conditions are correct. The closing signal of the circuit breaker for the second unit will be sent. If the additional units are needed, with the automatic synchronizing circuitry will be switched as the units become available. Once normal power is gained available, the procedure for returning load with the normal bus is usually done with the manual mode. Installation permitting parallel with the electrical utility system can transfer without interruption of power. If paralleling is not permitted, there will be a momentary outage if the switching is performed. Some installations are designed with an automatic retransfer to the normal power. However, these are usually small rated units that use transfer switch arrangement rather than circuit breakers for switch loads. 1-3. Unattended stations. Unattended stations operate with an operator in attendance. Without an operator in attendance, the operator in the same attendance station uses the automatic mode. 1-4. Non-parallel stations. 141. Non-parallel stations. As the stations that do not have provisions connecting an emergency generator bus to the commercial bus, it is applied with the station with a tie breakdown to the two incoming lines. Because of electrical utility regulations cannot be connected together, electrical interlocks used to prevent any unwanted paralleling from occurring. The interlocks usually consist of two circuit breakers electrically connected to the arrangement in such one that only one circuit breaker can be closed position at the time thus preventing parallel. 142. In some arrangements, mechanical interlocks may also be provided, but the mechanical interlock device physically prevents the circuit breakers from being closed at the time. Method also prevents paralleling from occurring. 143. Immediately before starting, the primary movers make thorough inspection sure of the following is ordered. Verify that the engine and generator is not set for the operated automatic starting mode during primary mover inspections. Extreme caution should be used. Unexpected start of the primary mover with the inspection can lead to serious injury or death. Check the leaks for lubricating system, fuel system, cooling system, if any of the auxiliaries or belts are driven. Check for tightness of the belts. Check for the proper level of the oil, water, fuel. Look for tools and other loose objects such as rags that have been left in the area. And remove if any air pressure is part of the steering system. Make sure the air pressure is at the correct value. Verify that none of the intake air vents and exhaust ports are blocked. Start the auxiliary pump, lube, oil, fuel, water is necessary prior to running the unit. 144 when the preparations for starting with the heads complete with the starting signal given from the primary mover. The engine primary mover should start rotate under the control of the governor accelerator to idle speed. Once the speed has stabilized, read with the pressure for the temperature gauge to make sure that the normal pressure and temperatures are being maintained. Listen to unusual noises. Shut down the engine if unusual pressure of the temperatures are observed, unusual noises are heard. Be familiar with the engine manufacturer literature with the information on acceptable pressure and temperatures. Once the unit has been placed under load and readings should be taken according with the operating log developed from the station. When the unit is no longer required, load has been removed, operating the engine at no load or some preset idle speed to allow the engine to cool gradually. When cooling period has been expired, shut down the engine. Cooling period is very different from primary movers. Refer to manufacturer instructions. Stop auxiliaries. Do not stop automatically. Make inspection of the unit. Look at any unusual conditions. 145. It is essential each power generator has a complete set of standards operating procedures. Procedures include up-to-date one-line diagram of the electrical system showing the generator's associated switchgear components. Notes and legends are usually included with the diagram. And then you have your ammeter, voltmeter, wattmeter, control power transfer, control transformer, G1, G2 generators, ammeter switch, voltmeter switch, watt hour demand meter, volt amp meter, potential transformer, and fuse. 146. Before the units are started with the inspection should be made, but this can be done with the conjunction with the inspection with the primary mover to look for the material and loose parts that can be drawn into the generator. Make sure that the airflow will not be restricted to either the intake or exhaust. 147. When the primary mover has the generator operating speed, acceleration can be applied. Adjust the regulator generator's rated voltage. Adjust the generator control of the primary mover so that the generator's rated frequency. Go over the main circuit breaker connecting the generator to the load. If necessary, adjust the voltage control of the rated voltage. Governor control of the rated frequencies. Reading with the various parameters taken according with the operating log of the station. Careful must be taken. So if the generator is operated below the nameplate rating after the units have been shut down, visual inspection similar to the performed prior to the startup can be performed. 148. Proper operation. Switchgear requires the knowledge of the standard operating procedure with the familiarity of one-line diagram electrical system. Requires some knowledge of the various protective relays of the other device associated system. The operator must be able to recognize the impending problem, observe the meters of their indicator. The operator can take proper action. The operator must be able to perform some of the basic troubleshooting and maintenance. And then shows a picture of your shows your figure 6 shows your typical station layout for the one-line diagram. Alright, 1.5. Parallel with electrical utility systems. Station that can be paired with electrical utility systems have the same of the basic characteristics as those discussed. The additional features include synchronizing circuitry in the case of the unintended stations and automatic mode. 152. Primary movers. The station can be operated with manual automatic mode operation. Manual mode is discussed. Automatic mode relay switcher gears with a sense of the loss of the commercial power provided with the station signal. Primary mover. It will then accelerate under the control of the governor to the operating speed of the remainder of the primary operation as previously discussed. 153. The discussion is the same as the discussion with the exception of the station. Automatic excitation will be applied with the automatic circuitry, also with the automatic main circuit breaker will all loads automatically providing with the incoming line the circuit breaker is open. 154. The comments regarding proper switchgear operation pertaining to the paralleling utility system in addition with the type of the system requires parallel circuitry, which as part of the switchgear includes one or more synchronizing switchgear with a synchronoscope, synchronizing lights, incoming voltmeter, incoming frequency meter, running voltmeter, running frequency meter. The synchronizing circuitry is energized by turning the synchronizing switch on. Or the 153, the synchronoscope, indicate the condition of the incoming machine with respect to the bus. The frequency of the incoming machine is higher than that of the bus. The synchronizing scope, monitoring the revolve in the clockwise fast direction. Operators should shift the governor control of the incoming primary mover until the synchronoscope pointers revolving slowly in the fast direction. Machines should be parallel by closing breaker for the incoming generated with the pointer reaches the 12 o'clock. Because there's slight lag in the breaker, the switching mechanism is good practice to start a braking closing operation about 1:30 position or slightly before the 12 pointer reaches 12 o'clock. 156. Synchronizing lamps. Provide the means of checking synchronoscope for the proper operation as pointer end revolves. The lamp goes alternately bright and dark in unison. Both lamps must be dark at the pointers passes 12 o'clock and the synchronoscope is effective. 157. Know that generator is parallel with electrical utility system of the load with the kilowatts, control with adjusting governor, control with the relative of the loads, VARs, voltage amp regulator circuit are controlled by the adjusting voltage control and loaded with the generator reduce and decreasing governor control with the observing the kilowatt for the generator with the kilowatt meter indicates 0. The operating open the generator circuit breaker with the load will now be transferred to the electrical utility bus. Primary movie can then be shut down with the formal normal procedures. 16116 parallel with the general units. Parallel with generating units. 161 station have two or more generators that can operate with the parallel have the same basic characteristics previously discussed. In addition, they may have the automatic synchronizing circuitry, also group circuits for the voltage regulator. For the automatic synchronizing circuits include speed matching relays, voltage matching relays, automatic synchronizing relays. These relays function when the station is in automatic mode or two or more AC sources are in agreement with specified limit in phase angle and the frequency. Voltage regulator drop circuitries are generalized with two or more generators are operated in parallel. These purposes is to prevent undesirable circuit conditions circulating currents between generators. 162 parallel operation of generators regulators and accomplished by appropriate cross current compensation method employs equalizing reactor compensator which adds small voltage potential proportional to reactive to the current delivered by the generator, the voltage delivered and to the potential transformer to give the slight droop of the voltage held by the generator reactive loads divide the reactive of the current proportional load current. The differential compensation used when line droop compensators are installed will automatically increase the voltage as load increases. With this connection, the equalizing reactor compensators are connected in series with no current flow. With the equalizing reactors are unbalanced. Low condition load is unbalanced current flow through the regulators to the decreased excitation generator carrying excessive reactive currents. This increases excitation generator to carry low reactive current. 17 operational tests. 171 emergency generator power units must be operated under load conditions periodically to ensure the reliability. The period of the exercising vary from the station. The station is important that accurate logs be kept on the condition counter during these exercises. 172 is suggested the manufacturer's auxiliary power be used consult to determine the time interval that the auxiliary power should be exercised and length of each exercise. National local codes may enter for the consideration. 173 the procedure. Using exercising units will also vary from station to station. Most desirable condition of the actual load, however, is not always possible. In this case, the load bank can be used. A load bank is generally a portable set of resistors allowed the generator to be tested under load by disconnecting the generator with the actual load connecting the load bank. In these stations, the permitting parallel with electrical utility system and other methods is used. After paralleling, the load of the generator can be controlled by adjusting the governor control. 174. In addition, with the exercise unit, it is also desirable to periodically perform an operational test accomplished by opening the circuit breaker with the electrical utility, verifying that the necessary relays contractor energizes, such as emergency generator breaker is closed and starts auxiliary power generator systems. Performing the test simulates a loss of commercial power. The frequency of the test depending on the nature of the load, critical and non-critical, but usually performed on a monthly basis. R2, routine and maintenance instruction, manufacturer procedures. Specifically, instruction given the care of each of these products. The instruction result of the wide experience obtained under the varied conditions should be followed closely. Maintenance personnel should always check the equipment first, sign of the physical damage before performing any other checks. 121. Routine maintenance instruction consists of scheduled inspection for the primary mover generators, exciter, switchgear need for the service of the repair is indicated. Refers to the manufacturer literature. Specific information, service records for the auxiliary power system are filed in installation in the engineering office. 213. Maintenance information. Provided with a discussion supplement for the manufacturer instruction does not supersede them. Check the list and schedules furnished here and are intended to the guides for the operator service personnel. 6. Auxiliary. Power systems are operated intermittently. The usual time of frame for the routine maintenance, such as weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, may not apply. According to the short-term use for the task of the performed less frequently, exemptions are noted with the manufacturer manual. 215. Electrical systems. Second, the test of the functional test for the verify for the proper interaction all sense of the processing action electrical devices and critical that these tests performed on a standby generator power system. Assertion that the safe of the operating will be reliable over the system. System must be tested as the united surface of the devices. In addition, with the testing individual components for the system include the auto start, auto transfer, auto synchronizing equipment. Every 6 months, utility equipment, electric power should be removed. Opening the main circuit breaker from a building or part of the facility supplied with electrical power, commercial power generation combination. Assertion the system will operate under abnormal conditions. 2.2. Primary mover maintenance. Routine maintenance instruction for the primary mover consists of short and long-term checklists for diesel and gas turbine engines. Short-term diesel checklist, diesel engines. 221. General commitments. Before performing any task required with the following checklist review, station log sheets, related records of the manufacturer recommendation, checklist, valves, values, check the valve operation, fuel injection nozzles, check fuel injection nozzle for secure mounting connection each time the engine shut down, torque down the nozzles according to the manufacturer instruction. Starting system, check the general condition of the air compressor, air lines, or valve. Their app will briefly open the system safety valve weekly. Check for proper operation, refer to manufacturer instruction details. Governor alarm and instrument. Check with the operation over the governor alarms and instrument, refer to manufacturer instruction. Pressure gauge, check with the pressure gauge clean and exposed indicating elements, refer to the manufacturer instruction. Intake exhaust systems. Check the air filters, engine exhaust, and smoking exhaust. Indicate the incorrect adjustment, clearing air filters as necessary. Exhaust lines. Clean and inspect exhaust lines. On 2-cycle engines, remove carbon for the exhaust port with the clean thermocouplers. Refer to manufacturer's instruction frequency of the check. Evaporator cooling. Refer to manufacturer's instruction on the cooling tower maintenance inspection. Oil fan, shaft bearings, oil damper bearings, linkage. Inspect spray nozzle clean as necessary. Clean pump section. Screen clean sump. Pan include cooling coil. If scale has formed circulating cleaning solution, then do not operate fan when cleaning coil. Check the belts for the condition, proper attention, refer to the manufacturer instruction. Fuel oil system. Clean the fuel oil strainers required for the operating condition. Check with the system with the connection components for the clean condition. Refer to manufacturer recommendation. Fuel filters, centrifuges. Check the fuel oil filters, centrifuge for the check the fuel oil system for the leak for the corrected as required. And refer to manufacturer instruction. Lubricating the system. Check mechanical lubrication how and during the operation. Oil on all hand lubricating points found with the manufacturer instruction. Correct leaks. Site feed lubricators, check the site feed lubricating oil strainer as necessary, check for the adequate lubrication supply. Lubricating oil filters, check lubricating oil filters, clean and replace filter as elements as necessary. Piston assembling connection rounds on 2-cycle engines, remove the upper hand hole in inspection cover for the side of the engine immediately after the engine is shut down. Inspect the piston for the proper lubrication. Cylinder and cylinder heads, use compressed air to blow out with the indicator connection, clean the indicators installed, refer to manufacturer instruction. Crankshaft, crankpin, main bearings. Remove the crankcase cover immediately after the engine is shut down. Check for the main crankpin bearings and proper lubrication. Check for the bearing temperature with excessive heat and with a hand touch. Refer to the manufacturer instruction frequency of the check. Alright, gauge and instruments. Verify the gauge and instruments have the up-to-date calibration certification. Read and record all indication of the gauges, thermometers, other instruments, regular intervals as required by the operating log. Turbocharger. Observe every 4 hours during operation. Check for the general condition, signs of vibration, weight, vibration, and present. Turbocharger impeller. Check with the turbocharger impeller for the accumulated dirt. Axle end plate dirt may indicate faulty filtering equipment and clean surface according to manufacturer instruction. Long-term diesels. Long-term checklist for the diesel engine performance for the checklist is related to the frequency, extent, and use of the auxiliary power plant. General comment: the following tasks shall be performed annually and otherwise noted for the following performance short-term checks. Checklist inspect schedule. Valve inspection. Inspect the exhaust valve clean and remove the carbon on the 2-cycle engine valve if necessary. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Inlet valves inspect, regrind inlet and exhaust valve seats if necessary. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Valve springs and guides. Check valve spring length and tension for the inspection valve stem with the bushing guides annually for the after 2,000 hours of use. Whichever that comes first, replace the parts as necessary. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Camshaft and drive. Check with the adjustable gear from the time chain with the refer to manufacturing instruction. Camshaft bearings inspect adjust. Camshaft bearing clearance. Refer to manufacturing instruction. Fuel injection nozzle inspection. After 2,000 hours, you for the remove the check nozzle with the test stand with the serve of the adjusting nozzle. You for the manufacturing instruction. Fuel injection pumps. Inspect the fuel injection pumps for secure mounting, cleanliness, proper operation. Fuel injection pump inspection. Disassemble, recondition all injection pump nozzles after 2,000 hours of use. Replace and repair and replace worn or damaged parts. Resemble the adjustment from the following manufacturer instruction. Airlines, drain the water with the airline tank monthly as necessary. Drain with the valves usually located at the lowest point of the air feed system. Air valves, clean the air valve to receive the necessary further manufacturer's instruction. Air compressors, disassemble, overhaul the air compressor for the starting of the equipment every 5 years based on the frequency of the use of the auxiliary power plant. Pressure gauge inspection, check for the data with the calibration, verify that the gauges have valid calibration, certification, calibrate per manufacturer instructions required. Governor overhaul of the governor after 2,000 hours of use. If the work was needed as indicated, replace or warn any damaged parts. Reassemble and adjust the following manufacturer instruction. Muffler and silencer. Keep the muffler and waste heat equipment, the boiler, and heat exchange clean with the accumulation of unburned lubricating oil, soot, and carbon are potential fire hazards. Make sure the fuel combustion is efficient as possible for the manufacturer's instruction. Cooling system. Inspecting pipe and piping valve with the cleaning of the heat and exchanger. Perform cooling system maintenance with the per manufacturer instruction. Drain, cleaning cooling tower. Clean inspecting pipe, circulate pumps and equipment. Cooling system in services, clean inspection entire cooling system. Vary overhaul pumps and recondition valves. Other equipment is necessary. Refer to manufacturer's instruction. Fuel oil tanks and lines. Drain for the tanks and lines. Remove the water sediment. Check for the heating coil for the proper operation. Lubricating oil cooler. Clean inspection. Lubricating oil cooler with leaks in good condition. Clean our surfaces more often under the dusty operation conditions. More efficient cooling. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Crankcase, drain on the crankcase semi-annually and more frequently based with a number of hours runs per for manufacturer recommendation. Acceptable industrial engine maintenance procedures. Inspection, lubricating oil pump, flush crankcase, and refer to manufacturer instruction. Lubricating oil pump, inspection pump after 2,000 hours use of service. The proper operation, refer to manufacturer specification for the pump. Cylinder heads. Remove the cylinder heads according to the manufacturing instruction after 2,000 hours of use. Inspect the cylinder lines. Clean the inspection wire with the jacket. Remove the scale for the corrosion necessary. Inspect with the measure of the diameter over the cylinder line. Clean and check with the gasket with the annealing, brittleness, cracks. Install new gaskets if necessary. Piston assembly inspection. On 4-cycle engine, pull one piston after 2,000 hours. Use the inspect with the proper cooling, lubricating carbon deposits. Inspect piston rings, wrists, pins of the cylinder lines with the compliance with the engine manufacturer specification. Inspection of the pistons. Pull pistons after 4,000 hours of the engine use. Clean. Inspect all parts. Wear proper lubricating, cooling. Verify that the rings are in ring clearance comply with the engine manufacturer specification. Cylinder inspection. Use the bearing device for the jacking bar to turn each of the piston top dead center during the step X. Inspect each cylinder liner for the scoring. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Anchor bolts. Check the anchor bolts for proper torque value. Flywheel bolts. Check the flywheel bolts proper torque value. Refer to the manufacturer's instruction. Verify the alignment of the coupling of the generator comply with specification. Main and crank pin bearings. Remove the bearing cap to check the journal's bearings of the proper lubrication, wearing, and scoring. Check with the main bearings for proper alignment. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Crankshaft. Verify the compliance with the engine manufacturer specification. Examine the crankshaft with the cracks with measured distance for the crank webs for the crankshaft deflection. Check the journal level, the clean oil passages. Place bearings as necessary. Adjust the running clearance following the manufacturer's instruction. Turbocharger inspection. Disassemble and clean and inspect the entire turbocharger following the manufacturer's instructions and specification. General overhaul diesel engine driven equipment every 10 years, about every 16,000 hours. Auxiliary use, follow the manufacturer's recommendation instruction, apply the manufacturer's specification. Short-term gas turbines. Short-term checklist for the gas turbine checks are limited to inspection cleaning tasks that can be performed on the exterior of the engine. General comments before performing any task described with the following checklist. Review the station log sheet related records of the manufacturer recommendation. Following precautions must be met. Shut the engine down. Apply with the do not operating tags, operating controls. Open the engine. Automatic start circle to deactivate the fire extinguishing system. Keep all engine enclosure doors open while they work on the engine. Will allow the engine to cool down before working on it. Checklist. Inlet inspection. Verify that the inlet draining over the lower part of the duct is open and free of the obstruction so that the moisture and condensation can run off. Check the inlet temperature sensor for the sign of damage. Check the sensor for the surrounding area with approved solvent to remove the dirt and contaminants. For the manufacturer's instruction, make the sensor assure the sensor is securely attached to the engine. Hard exhaust inspection. Visually inspect the engine, exhausting, casing, struts, and the center of the body for the cracks, nicks, and other sign of the damage. Refer to manufacturer's instructions. Inspect the exhaust stack for the freedom and the other from restriction. General good for the condition. Chip detectors. Our engines usually have plugs with a magnetic chip with the detector lubricating some of the during the normal operation. Some of the fuzz-like particles will be found on the detectors. Also, the material with the non-metallic sludge or flake of the bronze powder, aluminum chips, etc., may accumulate on the plugs. Refer to manufacturer literature for the specific information. Check with the chip detectors electrically continually will install. Continuity is an indication of the contamination. Remove chip and detectors if contaminated. Discard packing. Clean the chip detector. Check with the chip detector for the good and threaded proper magnetism. Place new packing rings in the chip detector. Install it on the engine. Tighten with the proper torque. Tube external inspection. Inspect for the engine tube with the hose for the tube housing, fitting electrical assembly connectors for the security, overheating the damaged tube with leakage. Perform inlet exhaust inspection described previously. Check with the standoff bracket, strut loosen for cracks and damages. Check ignition exciter igniter plugs leads for damage, overheating security. Check with the mechanical control for the signs of excessive wear, damage, security. Check fuel manifold for the leaks and signs of the damage, security. With check for the rust or corrosion. R224 long-term gas turbine. Long-term gas turbines. Long-term checks usually affect the interior air of the engine with the seldom performed in the field. With the repair of the necessary may involve the training with the component balance relationship should be performed at designated overall location for the manufacturer literature for information. Chapter 3: Generators and Exciters. Our routine maintenance instruction for the generators and exciters consists of short and long-term checklist for the rotating and static type equipment. The short-term checklist for the generators and exciters. General comments. Before performing any task required by the following checklist, review the chase and log sheet with a related record for the manufacturer recommendation. Checklist 3121. Air screen with the oil filters. Air screens or filters can be chained with when the airflow is restricted enough to increase the generator operating temperature. Refer to manufacturer literature. 3122. Expect exciter coupling if applicable. The generator unit is shut down with a prior to operating wipe off with excessive lubricating of the couple to prevent splatter. Coupling leaks in alignment with the generator have been shut down with a check with the lubricating leak for the tightness of the coupling. Not any of the evidence for the improper alignment, the corrective if necessary. Axle position. The axle position of the primary move of the generator of the exciter shaft with the correct alignment of the angularity. Bearings lubricating of the generator. The exciter bearings is required. Refer to the manufacturer literature with the instruction pressure and non-pressure rate of lubricated bearings. Rotary exciters, brushes, and brush ringing. Remove carbon dust from the collector ring communicator. Vacuum dry compressed air with about 25 psi monthly. Check with the brush wear with the indication of the arcing shattering monthly. Check the condition of the slip rings. Refer to manufacturer instructions. Static exciters. Verify that the equipment is clean and free from the dirt. Moisture. Verify all the connections are tight. Check for the connection for the corrosion and clean is required. Long-term checklist of generators, exciters. General comment: the following tests should be performed annually with the unless otherwise noted with the following performance short-term checklist. Checklist and schedule: coupling, lubrication, drain lubricant, and disassemble with the clean with the coupling annually whenever necessary. Reassemble the U with the new gasket, fresh lubricant for the manufacturing instruction with a flexible coupling. Brush replacement: when brushes have worn to half of their original length, replace the sheet properly. Adjust the brushing ring tension to 2.5 to 3.6 psi on the brush. Writing: so the repair and replace the damaged worn brushing rigging parts. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Brushing electrolytic action can occur with a collector ring surface with the action forms of the greenish coating of the verdigris on brass, bronze, and copper. Effectively, action can be reduced, eliminated, reversing the polarity annually as required for the manufacturer's instruction. Commutator and collector ring: clean the commutator collector with the rings of the vacuum, clean oil-filled dirt, and improve the solvent of the drive with the compressed air of the valves, 25 psi. Check for the roughness from the hard spot with the outer brown condition. Check for the communicator collector rings as necessary following the manufacturer instruction. Rotor winding. Rotor maintenance begins with the measuring with the recording of the insulation resistance before the unit is placed in service. Refer to the manufacturer literature with the instruction. The rotor should be thoroughly cleaned annually with the inspected valves. Check for the damper winding with the loose bar with the connection with each bar with the ring segment. The check for the joint with the ring segment between the poles of the refer to the manufacturer instruction. Check for the clearance per manufacturer specification between blower and coils. Check for the field coils with the movement and separation. Clean with the dirt or oil with the winding air passages. Check for the condition of turn to turn and insulation on the strap field coils. Verify the condition of the ground insulation one pole piece. Check all the connections between the field coil lead out with the connection with the collector rings. Measure for any of the recorded insulation resistance between the field coil gradually rounding, including collector rings. Refer to the manufacturer instructions. Check the bearing journal for damage and excessive wear. Compare micrometer readings with the manufacturer table to wear the limits. Repair and replace mechanical parts that meet these specifications. Dry out. According to manufacturer instruction, repair insulation damage and coat with approved insulation varnish. Alright, rotor balancing. Measure for the record vibration limit of the repaired unit with its style for the manufacturer specification vibration limits of the specific unit. The form stack the dynamic balancing on the unit according to instructions if necessary. Stator winding. Measure for the record insulation resistance between the stator of the winding and the ground of the machine terminals annually. Stator surface. Upon open one of the stator annually clean through the inspect the following of the broken, damaged loop of the missing wedges, the movement, the distortion of the coil and security, all the lashing space for the tightness of the coil, support of the cooling patch of the open and cleanliness and loosen of the coil and slots of the cracks without the damage of the coil of the insulation connection between the coil of the round of the frame, measure of the record of the insulation resistance between the winding of the ground of the machine terminals, compare the value of the record when the machine was first put in service. 323. Check license schedule for the solid state exciter. Solid state equipment does not require a long-term check with equipment that does not function from the properly referred to manufacturer literature for information. Repair and replace is required. Alright, Chapter 4, Switchgear Maintenance. Routine maintenance instruction for the switchgear for the short and long-term checklist. De-energize the switchgear before performing maintenance. Disconnect the primary and secondary sources of power. The short-term check list for the switchgear. General comment before performing any of the tasks required with the following with the checklist. Review of the station log sheet. Related record. Manufacturer recommendation. National Fire Protection Association 70E. Electrical safety requirements for the employee workplace. 4.2. Checklist panel with the other exciter surface of the panel and exterior surfaces must be kept scrupulously clean at all times. Relays, actuating mechanism. Clean inspect relay for the actuating mechanism monthly. Many of the type of the relays are used to identify the relays, such as the thermal current, overload, overspeed, liquid level, lubricating oil pressure, flow of the frequency change, etc. Refer to manufacturer literature for the inspection procedure. Verify all of the connections tight and free of corrosion. Conductors and coils. Clean and inspect for the conductors coiled monthly. Verify for the coating, insulation, varnish is in good condition. Clean, smooth, and polished, and there are no indication of overheating of the corona arcing. Switches. Inspect switches for the proper alignment, the firm of the contacts, and smooth the operating monthly burned or pitted copper contact surfaces may be dressed with 2-to-1 sandpaper to do not distress silver contacts. Circuit breaker with the trip and globe with the circuit breaker with the check with the proper operation. Quarterly check the time delay with the freedom of the movement. Refer to manufacturer instruction. Coil and heaters. Check the coil and the heaters quarterly with the secure of the mounting of the circuitry. Continuity. Check with the control of the thermostat with the proper operation. For the manufacturer instruction. Contactors. Check with the magnetic surface with the contactor quarterly for cleanliness. Move gun, rust, and corrosion. Adjust for the even the contact pressure according to the manufacturer's instruction. 428 voltage regulator. Check with the voltage regulator for the proper operation. Adjust the quarterly. Various makes and types are used. Refer to manufacturing literature and instruction. Long-term checklist for the switchgear perform task is related with the frequency extent with the use of the auxiliary power plant. 431. The general comment: the following tasks should be performed annually when left, otherwise known as the following performance of the short-term check for the procedure generally but apply primarily to the draw-out. The equipment checklist and schedule meters and instruments. Check the meters and instruments again for the verified standard that reflect with the defective the inaccurate meter of the instrument to the manufacturer's designated repair location for the surface and calibration. Buses inspect bus connection for the sign of the overheating, weakening of the insulation supports. Overheating is indicated with the discolorization of the bus bar. Inspect inserted for the cracks in the arc tracks. They replace the defective insulator with the tighten the bus bar and the terminal connection for the proper torque value. Indicating device and interlock with the indicating device for the interlock for the proper operation for the manufacturer's instruction. Disconnecting devices. Check primary disconnecting device contacts for the sign of overheating and abnormal wear. Clean contact with silver polish. Clean disconnecting device contact supply light coating with approved lubricant enclosure. Verify that the interior of the anchor bolts, structural bolts are tight with the inspect cable connection signs for overheating. Tight and loose connections is required. Circuit breakers manually operate each of the breaker while in test position. Verify the proper operation for the manufacturer's instruction. Environmental conditions. More frequently, inspection with the switchgear must be made with the unusual surface condition exists, such as the contaminating fumes, excessive moisture, or extreme heating, cold. Additional protection may be required if the diverse conditions are present. Grounding resistance. Measure and record with the ground resistant values used for the ground resistant test set. With compare with these values with the recording device. Recording during the previous step of the test indicating the ground system and effectiveness possible of deterioration since the last test. Alright, 5. Lubricating oil for your purification. Purification system, oil purification system. Either the engine pressure for the system, oil supply system are classified with the method of flow used in purifying oil. System frequently used with the bypass and full flow types of as follows. In the bypass system, part of the total oil circulating in the engine passes through the filter for the purifying equipment. The system continuously cleans all small portion of the oil, generally remove the contaminants as fast as they are formed in the engine. Thus, no oil may be deteriorated, but generally stabilized with the effectiveness filterization system matches with the rate of the production of the contaminants, and full flow system. The oil circulating with the engine passes through filtering equipment prior to going to the engine. Forms of contamination. Oil contamination usually occurs in one of the two forms: impurities such as dirt, carbon particle of the other solid matter entering the oil, undesirable substances such as water, polymerized products of oil, breakdown acids, other chemical matter entering the oil. Methods of purifying. Oil purification is accomplished by using one other than any of the combination following methods: straining, filtering, centrifuging, reclaiming. Straining. The usual type of the oil straining can be woven in the wire screen with a perforated sheet metal. With the edge type of the wire wound strainers are also used. With the edge type of the consists of a stack of metal discs separated by a thin washer. The wire wound type consists of spool wire wrapped around and finely serrated wire, forming the clearance between the adjacent wire. Strainers are designed to remove solid particle of the oil with usually about 15 thousandths to 3 thousandths of an inch in size, depending on the engine manufacturer specification. Refer to the strainer manufacturer literature with a detailed servicing instruction. Filtering is accomplished using chemical neutral, chemical activated filter material. Chemically neutral oil filter usually consists of the canister of the tank with contaminating chemical containing a chemical neutral high absorbent material. Cotton cellulose waste for the paper, usually with the absorbent filling material of the filter tank provide with the necessary entry for the exit ports. Internal tubing perforated to solve with a check of the valves and the orifice to ensure the proper flow of the oil through the filtering material of the filter are more efficient than strainers. Moving a very small particle that is usually designed and process strained oil. Refer to filter manufacturer literature with a detailed servicing instruction. Are chemically actuated absorbent filters contain the chemically activated material instead of the chemically neutral material of the construction. The absorbent type filters and similar filtering materials include charcoal, clay fuelers, earth. There is material to remove the water, acid components, absorb certain light with the petroleum elements, waxes, residual products. They are usually accomplished good, but the purification may reduce the acidity as well as remove solid contaminants. Absorbent filters may be used with a straight run uncompounded mineral oils with no danger of removing essential additives. Absorbent filter for the chemically neutral filter should be used in conjunction with compound additive type oil with the refer to fill manufactured literature with the details for everything instruction. Ensure filtering system comply with the engine manufacturer recommendation. Centrifuging. Oil purification centrifuging usually it consists of a stationary bowl that includes with the rotating element. The element mounted on the verticals arranged axis rotated at high speed in the bowl. The high-speed rotation covers the column over the oil to form a portion over the element nearest to the center of the column of the water, balanced over the outer of the edge of the centrifugal bowl. Solid particles having the gravity of value heavier than that of the oil thrown outward. The heavy solids accumulate with the centrifugal bowl. The water is removed by high gravity difference produced by the high speed with the centrifugal. The effect of the mechanical separation curve of the however the material suspended state are not always removed by this method. The chemical with the contaminants are separated only if they have marked differently, specifically gravity from that of the oil. Polymerized products having the gravity similar to that of oil and are not separated in general fuel oil dilution is not effective. The corrective of the centrifuge is used extensively in fuel oil purification, but has reduced application to diesel internal combustion engine lubricants. If used as an oil reclaiming system, it is used only in a part of the total process. For the manufacturer literature with a detailed servicing instruction. Alright, 534, reclaiming. Various types of the reclaiming equipment used with the reclaiming the operator with the overheat of the valve with the 400 degrees with the drives over the off water vapor with the lighter fuel oil dilution. However, the effect of the recombination regular mineral oil is possible after complete removal of the additive material that occurs during reclaiming. The oil produced from a reclaimer must be limited. The strip does not require an additive. The oil operating at the temperatures above 400 degrees Fahrenheit result of the partial breakdown of lubricating oil, which can produce oil having the higher viscosity of the original oil. The oil reclaimers are normally used with the processing oil between the impure oil with the clean oil system may route the reclaimed oil to a separate tank for the use and other lubricating for the refer to the manufacturer literature for the device services and instruction. Oil quality standards. Oil quality standards are provided below. Water sediments 1%, 5% minimum. Water 0.5% and 3% maximum. Sediment 0.5% and 2% maximum viscosity, plus or minus 5%, plus or minus 10% maximum corrosion, copper strip none or dull, and maximum corrosion copper. pH 7% or higher, 6.8 maximum. Filtered particles larger than oil filter none at 2%. Metallic under 1 micron fewer and maximum 1%. Over 5 microns, no normal none. Standard maximum 1%. Total residual. Alright, A4 oil maintenance procedure. The following information is general guideline for the maintenance of the lubricating oil water sediment cleaned by the centrifuging viscosity for the treatment of oil reclaimer for the drive off dilution, viscosity for the centrifuge hot, remove of the heavy sludge if necessary for the add straight run mineral oil and lower viscosity, corrosion treat and with the activated type of the reclaim with the additives oil in use with the presence of the corrosive quality indicated by the additives exhaust. The new oil must be used with the benefit additive is required. Used oil may be reclaimed and used for others for not requiring the additive. 845 particle with the passage of the particle larger than filter specifications are detailed sign of channeling structural damage in filter element replace filter cartridges. Alright, then it goes into the quiz, and that was the reading of Introduction, Operation, Maintenance, and Auxiliary Power Systems.